Hello, everybody, and welcome into the 82nd edition of Texas Longhorns Live. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. We really appreciate you guys doing that. And we're just going to jump into it. So Texas didn't really waste any time here. I think it took 2-3 days for them to get a replacement running back coach. We're going to give our synopsis on that, what we think of the hire overall. And we might as well jump into it. So Jabbar Jaloop coming over from Florida. Really good at recruiting the South. Obviously, that makes sense coming to Texas. Gerald, what do you think about this hire?
Yeah, I think it's a good hire. I think it's got a lot of different aspects going for it. One, like getting that Louisiana recruiting, like he's a Louisiana guy. He spent 10 or 15 years coaching in high schools in Louisiana, so super connected there. And Texas wants to continue to build like those inroads in Louisiana and kind of, LSU and A&M have gotten a lot of those kids. So being able to pry a couple of them, more of them away from them will be great. And then obviously you have to talk about the elephant in the room, like the Jaden Baugh of it all. He's, Jaden Baugh has removed all the Florida stuff from his social media, which, that's people do that all the time and things are weird. But ultimately, he's got a connection with this guy, and Texas is looking for at least one, if not multiple, running backs in this class. And not only is he's a Jaden Baugh guy, but KD Daniels went into the portal today. KD Daniels was a top 175, top 200 running back last year, and he's got 3 years of eligibility left. So I think one or both of those guys are now more in play for Texas than they were even a couple of weeks ago. So I think ultimately, he's a good recruiter. He's a solid running back coach, and he's got ties at a position where Texas probably is going to prioritize in the portal. So it seems like a slam dunk hire for me.
Yeah, and I think, this is all new in the world of college football with, we really only gave Chad Scott 1 year here and we got rid of him. And I think you have to do that now in the new world of college football because it's the same with the portal guys. Like if you can't go out and recruit your position well enough and they don't perform in 1 year, that's kind of on you because you have the portal at your disposal now. And you could have gone into the portal and got more running backs if you didn't like your room. So I agreed with the firing of Chad Scott. And then, you get someone like this. And the two guys on my list, if we were to make a list, if we hadn't made a hire at this time would have been Frank Wilson, who's probably going to stay at LSU, and then Jabbar Jaloop. So you landed one of the two guys, the two best, in my opinion, that you could possibly get, like you brought up, high school recruiting. Edna Carr, he coached there in Louisiana. He did a really good job there, and that's a school that produces a lot of NFL talent and a lot of college football talent, and it's going to be more competitive now, guys. We have to deal with Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's a really good recruiter, and he can, go into high school now. That's something he couldn't do at Ole Miss. If you looked at his Ole Miss classes, it was mostly transfer portal. He's going to be able to go into Louisiana now and pitch that because he has the budget to do so. So it was super important to get someone that could do that area, like you said. And then some of the guys that he's gotten, Grant Delpit, DJ Lagway, who just entered the portal today, Trevor Etienne, Jaden Baugh, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are some of the big names on this list of guys he's gotten to go to these schools. And he's coached at LSU, he's coached at Florida, he's coached at Texas Tech. He's got really good recruiting chops. He's a good football coach, and he immediately did the smart thing. He reached out immediately, guys, to Derek Cooper, who's in the class, and he's already offered multiple guys in the 2027 class. So in my opinion, he's kind of hit the ground running where it took Chad Scott a while to offer guys. Like we were 2 to 3 weeks on he was 2 to 3 weeks at Texas before he offered anyone. We've already got multiple offers from Jabbar Jaloop at Texas. So he's hitting the ground running. He's doing a good job, and I'm super excited to see him here at Texas.
Yeah, and again, where in Chad Scott's defense, he was also recruiting West Virginia kids, and Jabbar Jaloop was already recruiting these top-tier SEC kids. So he had some of those relationships already built. But I think you're absolutely right. Chad Scott had an opportunity, and again, it's I don't want to say it's unfair because the guy's well compensated and it's his job, but I wonder what that looks like if both of those running backs don't get injured. Right, there's part of that goes into it, but ultimately, they had multiple guys that could not go. They had multiple guys that even when they were in, they looked uninspired. They looked like they weren't up to the task. And that ultimately is on him, right? You have young guys that weren't developing at all. And so ultimately, that is a knock on Chad Scott. And like you mentioned, Jabbar Jaloop is a guy who has skins on the wall as far as recruiting goes. He's got big names, not just at the collegiate level, but he's gotten them to the NFL. He's got guys that have played at the next level. And ultimately, again, the Louisiana ties, the deep Louisiana ties are huge, right? Texas wants to get into Louisiana in a major, major way. And they grabbed, 1 or 2 guys here and there, 1 or 2 of those elite guys, but really being able to grab multiple of these elite skill players, grab multiple of these elite defensive linemen that seem to come out of the state of Louisiana would be a game changer for Texas, because the last couple of years haven't had as many of those game breakers from in-state, and Texas missed out on the ones that were there. So ultimately, like, for Texas to be able to expand what your kind of main recruiting pipelines are is huge.
No, 100%. And it's like I said, it's going to get a lot more competitive in that area now with Lane Kiffin. And then I think Texas Tech will probably start sneaking over there with their money as well. So I think Louisiana and Florida and that area of the South is going to be super competitive now with A&M, Texas Tech, Louisiana, Texas. So it's going to be very interesting. And like you said, if we can get Jaden Ball, this hire already is an A+, because that's the type of guy that can be the number one running back on a national championship team. And, you know, maybe there's a couple other Florida guys. Jordan Castile, I believe, is the safety that just jumped in. He was an all freshman safety, guys. Like, if he has any connections there and helps us land him in the portal, because we're probably going to need a safety next year, that will be amazing as well. Like you said, the other running back is a possibility too. Like, there's a possibility we could get 2 to 3 guys off this Florida roster, and that's a hell of a roster, guys. It's one of the best in college football, so that'd be awesome. Gerald, overall, what do you give this hire right now, like grade-wise?
I think it's probably, I don't want to say an A yet, but it feels like a solid B+. I think there is probably, I can't think of anybody else I'd much rather have, but I really do want to see what this portal class looks like before I give a final assessment, because the guys that are coming in the portal are going to be evaluating, you know, Jabbar Jaluk's ability to coach them and get them ready for the next year. So ultimately, like, I think it's probably a B+, you know, depending on how the portal class shakes out. You know, we could, like you said, jump all the way up to A+. If Jaden Ball, or again, I'm a big, like, go watch Katie Daniels' film. He is way too fast for a guy who's 6 foot, 200 plus. He will fit right into the outside zone, inside zone scheme that Texas is going to run. So either of those guys from Florida, or heck, both of those guys from Florida, I would love to have them in the fold.
No, 100%. Yeah, I'm going to give it a B+, because again, when I hear something and I like the idea, I always, you know, kind of repeat it on this show, but I also give credit. Jeff Ketchum said this, like, in the new world of college football, it's who you can bring with you when you come to the new school. So if he can bring those guys, I agree. I think it's an A+ hire. I don't know if he can, so that's going to be interesting. But right now, I give it a B+. I think with the recruiting chops, where he recruits in his strong suit, he was able. Derek Cooper seems like super happy about it. So overall, I think it's a really good hire, and it's probably, like I said, one of the 2 best you could have gotten. So I'm going to give it a B+ for right now.
Yeah, and you know, Texas fans, we're joking about Stan Drayton or you know, Rashad Samples, and I don't. Samples was going to leave Oregon, and you know, I think Drayton's a little old school for, I think, what Sark is trying to do. I love Stan Drayton, and again, Stan Drayton did a lot for Texas, but I think this was the right direction to go.
No, I agree. And again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. It really helps us out. We're here every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So we're going to jump over to the other possible staff changes. And before we do that, we might as well jump into these comments, because we got one from Corey. Corey said, send Flood with Scott then. So we'll get into that in a second. He also says, Lagway to Tech. I'm guessing Texas Tech. Yeah, that would be interesting, but I think Brendan Sorsby's going to Texas Tech. I think all the signs are there. His girlfriend just committed there for, I believe, volleyball or softball. And someone in Texas Tech higher up retweeted something of his. Like, I'd be shocked at this point if he's not going there, which is an upgrade over Baron Morton. So I think that'd be a good hire. So let's move over to the other possible staff changes for Texas, guys. And I have 6 names written down, and I'm going to get your opinion on this, Gerald, of who do you think, do you think these guys should be fired? We'll just start at the bottom here, because I've heard a lot of rumors about this, and I combine the two. So Mark Orphy just came over, just like Chad Scott, from Rutgers first year, and then I'm going to lump Dwayne Akina in there as well. Do you believe either of those guys comes back to Texas next year, or do you believe one comes back, or do you believe they're both gone?
I wouldn't be surprised if Dwayne Akina decided that he was going to retire after this last year. Like, the guy has he's pushing great grandchildren at this point, right? He's just like at the end of his career, and Texas brought him over to coach up these cornerbacks. And you and I were talking about it, you know, this time last year, where, you know, he's one of the best teachers of technique in the country, and it just didn't show up on the field this year. I was very frustrated with what the cornerbacks were doing this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dwayne Akina or Mark Orphy, either of them. Dwayne Akina is the one that reaches out, that jumps out to me, just because, again, he's a little bit older. He's later on in his career. He's kind of in the twilight of his career. So again, I would love for him to be able to retire on his own terms, and be able to go out that way. But yeah, I would not be shocked if one or both of those guys were gone.
Yeah, from all the smoke, I agree. The retired is the proper term there because, yeah, he's going to get pushed out just because there seemed to be some, miscommunication between him and Pete Kwiatkowski and Johnny Nansen. They weren't on the same page of how to mirror the front with the coverage. And you saw that. Like, it didn't make sense why guys were 12 yards off the ball on 3rd and
Yeah.
10, and we were giving it up. And that kind of went back to the first year or two with Sark. You saw that. And once he got his guys established, we didn't see that anymore. And then all of a sudden it came back this year. So I think that's going to be a mutually parting the ways. He's going to retire. So I completely agree with that. Mark Orphy, I'm fine if we give him another year. I don't think you can just keep, again, I didn't think the Chad Scott hire was great, but I think Mark Orphy has done a pretty good job on the recruiting trail, and we haven't really given him that much time here. And I think that's a harder position to coach with everything than running backs is. So I'm fine if we give him another year, but I'm also indifferent on the situation. If they want to fire him and go get someone else and upgrade the position, I'm cool with that. Again, I don't think Texas fans knew what they had when they had Blake Gideon and Terry Joseph back there. Terry Joseph is now in the NFL. Blake Gideon is a defensive coordinator of a playoff team. They were very good at what they did. So it sucks that we lost him, and we're probably going to have to replace both of these guys. For sure, one of them is going to be out the door, but I think there's more of a chance both of them are gone.
Yeah, I think it makes more sense to keep Orphy around again because of, I think, the recruiting aspect. I don't think Akina is out on the recruiting trail either. So I think the continuity with this class and with the 27 group, keeping Orphy, who's probably out there communicating with these kids, makes a lot more sense for sure.
Next up, a guy that you called for. What is he doing? What is he going to do? AJ Milwee. I have him written down. So do you think they should bring him back? Do you think they should go a different direction? What do you think on that one?
I mean, I hate calling for guys' jobs, right? But ultimately, like, Texas is on the verge of going 0 for 2 with generational, like, quarterback talent. And AJ Milwee is the guy with quarterback coach next to his name, right? Granted, Texas also has 2 quarterback coaches on their roster because Michael Belmonte is on the staff as well, who has quarterback coach and passing game coordinator next to his name. So if you got those 2 guys in Sark, like, and the quarterbacks aren't developing the way that they should be, like, that to me is a glaring red flag. And it's something that I haven't been shy about saying. Like, if AJ Milwee is not getting the quarterback, if AJ Milwee is not getting Quinn Ewers a couple of years ago, if AJ Milwee is not getting Arch Manning to where he needs to be, what is he doing, right? And again, Steve Sarkisian is kind of the quarterback guy, right? And I've said this before. I think Milwee's big advantage or big add to what they're doing is the relationships and is the quarterback or is the recruiting aspect of it. So, like, move the guy to personnel, like, get him on the personnel staff. But the simple fact that, like, you've got Sark, who's a quarterback coach, you've got Belmonte, who's a quarterback coach, and you've got Milwee, and we have not seen AJ Milwee produce. Again, we had Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers was good, not great. We've got Arch Manning, who came on late in the year, but again, he was not ready for prime time. Like, that to me is a glaring red flag, and the quarterback coach, unfortunately, has to answer for
that. Yeah. Oh, man. Apologize for that.
Getting choked up.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting sad for AJ Milwee because I kind of agree with you. I don't really know what he does, but I know when Arch committed to Texas, like, that was, if you read what he wrote, he talked about AJ Milwee, like, he named him. He's like, he's part of the reason why I came here. So obviously he's good at that. We heard Quinn Ewers also talk about him too multiple times in his press conferences. So again, you're right. He's 100% good with the relationship building. I believe I've heard Diabell talk about him. So obviously he is doing something right on the trail. He's getting in these guys' ears. He's making a good impression. But again, I don't know what he's doing because to me, a quarterback coach, like, should be working on the fundamentals, footwork, hand placement on the ball, stuff like that. The worst thing about Arch Manning this year was his footwork. He was a big overstrider, and that was not fixed at all during the year. Now, if it gets fixed going into next year, I'll lean back a little bit on this take because I don't think AJ Milwee's going anywhere. Again, I just put him on the list because it's a big hot topic among Texas fans. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I think that would take the athletic director, Chris Del Conte, going into Steve Sarkisian and say it's either you or him. I think that's what it would take, and I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think Sark's firing him because they've kind of been like this ever since he's gotten here. So I think he's going to stick around. But do I think he should probably get replaced? Yeah. I mean, there's a couple guys that I think Texas could hire that'd be immediate upgrades. The guy that just came to mind, you could hire him as an offensive coordinator too, I'd be happy with, is Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll has worked in the NFL. He's plays under Josh Allen. I wouldn't mind if he came in as offensive coordinator. I wouldn't mind if he came in as a quarterback coach. And guess what? You can pay those guys whatever. Those guys can be on the field now. There's no minimum amount or maximum amount you can pay them. So you can pay them a lot of money to come to Texas, and Texas has the money. So I agree. I think you can definitely upgrade that position, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, Milwee is Sark's guy, so, like, it's not going to happen unless, again, part of me is like terrified that like we're just going to continue to see this because Dia Bell's going to come in a couple of years and we're going to be like, oh, we're back here again. So like, again, at some point, like if it doesn't continue, like that's a point where Del Conte has to step in. Like, Sark has has shown that he's not necessarily overly loyal to his guys. Like he's willing to make changes. He's willing to, cut bait quickly. So, but like we said in the chat, and like I've said before, like AJ Milwee, great at relationships, great at recruiting, gets the kids here, but the quarterback production on the field is just not there. And if you've got three guys that have quarterback coach in their repertoire, right? Again, I keep coming back. Milwee, Sark, and Bamonte are all on the staff as quarterback guys. Like something's got to give.
No, 100%. Corey says, I read Texas fans today comparing Arch to Gilbert. Yeah, I don't know who's saying that. That is not a good comparison at all.
No, not in the slightest bit. Like I watched Garrett Gilbert and Arch is light years ahead of where Garrett Gilbert was. And we could relitigate Garrett Gilbert all you want. That was Mac Brown's biggest mistake, was changing offensive schemes when Garrett Gilbert came in. That's not going to happen this year. So I don't think we have much room to worry there.
So we'll go to number 3. And actually this hits on what Corey said earlier about Kyle Flood. So this is Kyle Flood. I'll address this first. Guys, Kyle Flood had one bad year. We should not fire Kyle Flood. I think he's one of the 10 to 15 best at what he does in college football. I'm fine with one bad year. And guess what? When he got the right personnel on the field, they looked pretty good. So it was more of the issue of how do I want to structure it? So if you want to have more voices in the room of how the offensive line should be structured, like the 5 guys you want out there, I'm fine with that. But he's good at teaching. Like you can just watch their technique and it's good. Now, what you put out there, I don't know what he saw in Connor Stroh to make him believe, hey, he should be the starting left guard. That's a big disappointment and something that I think he got wrong. But again, when he got the 5 guys on the field, they played well. So in my opinion, no, Kyle Flood should not be fired. He's hitting at an 80% rate. He's 4 out of 5 of his years here. That is good enough for me to keep. I'm not firing Kyle Flood.
Yeah, they had some missed evals again, but I don't think Kyle Flood. I will reserve judgment on Kyle Flood. I don't think he needs to be fired this year. I definitely want to see what they do this offseason. I want to see how they approach the portal from the offensive line. I want to see what they go, how aggressive they get in getting guys in the room. Because when I think the biggest glaring thing to me is letting Logan Parr walk and him going all conference in the ACC. Like that to me, and that was your big trouble spot, was Logan Parr's spot. So Logan Parr was good enough to play on a team that was flirting with an ACC championship and made first team all conference in that conference in the ACC. So like there were some very clear missed evaluations in this room. I think they did not go in with a clear picture. But again, like you said, Kyle Flood, he is batting well above what we thought. And I think we went into the year with too high of expectations of this group. We went into this year and really did not take into account how much talent was gone, right? Removing Kelvin Banks from that line is a subtraction on a 1,000-fold. Like it's wild. So like expecting Kyle Flood to have the same production he did with three guys that are in the NFL now, not going to go. But ultimately, I've rambled on long enough. Keep Kyle Flood around. I think if he has another shaky year, then I think we can have this conversation again this time next year. But I think Kyle Flood has earned at least one more year of a benefit of the doubt.
He gets another year just for Christian Jones alone in his first couple years at Texas. That alone buys him a year or two. And another one that, I just saw again today. Remember, we had John Mills basically all but wrapped up before 48 hours. That guy was I believe, all freshman player. That's what he made this year. All freshman AP player at the left guard position. Imagine if we had him, guys. So, that's what I'm saying. We were so close to where this offensive line with him, if he's there at the left guard position, it's probably fixed. Another thing is, too, they say big humans. Guys, our offensive line really isn't that big. Go across the board. Our offensive line is like these gigantic freaks out there. And then the guys that are bigger couldn't move. So you got Connor Stroh, but he couldn't move laterally. Whereas these guys aren't that big, but they can move laterally. They need to, set a scheme, a running scheme. If Sark goes and tells Kyle Flood, we're running this scheme no matter what, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to be really good at it, I think we'll be fine. I think that's really the biggest, problem that we see. We don't have a set scheme in the run department. We kind of, we're Baskin Robbins. We got 130 flavors, but none of them are great. That's what we are. So we need to have 1 to 2 flavors, and they need to be amazing.
Now, since we're going to rant on Kyle Flood, no more false starts. Get rid of the pre-snap penalties. If that is one thing that's like the big X in the cons category is we're 5 years into this thing and Texas still has multiple pre-snap penalties that kill them. So like that is something that like you have to keep an eye on.
No, 100%. Now let's move over to this one. Number 2 for me, I wrote Jeff Banks. Again, I was the one that called for his job, and then all of a sudden Ryan Niblett came in to play and played amazing, kind of saved his job. Because honestly, if Ryan Niblett doesn't play like that and Jack Bouwmeester isn't great, we're probably talking about Jeff Banks being fired this offseason. I really believe that, but they saved his job. We'll see what he does. I think he's fine for next year. He recruits too well. He's liked too much. He's regarded highly. If you speak to anyone that just coaches football, he's regarded very highly with his schemes on special teams. But he's got to get better at certain things. Like the blocking of punts clearly was not him. That was Keelan Robinson and the other gunners that were spectacular at their job. And once they left, that went with it. So he's got to get better in that department. Everything else has been okay to me, but we got to figure out a way to block some kicks.
Yeah, I think my issues with Jeff Banks, the weird penalties from Warren Roberson, I don't know if that's on him, right? But like special teams penalties will kill you, right? Texas had a couple of big returns called back on special teams penalties. I think the bigger question I have about Jeff Banks is what the heck is going on with the tight end room? That's my bigger question with Jeff Banks. Like, Texas had Jack Endries and he was absent for 10 of 12 games, right? Jordan Washington, they put 20 pounds of weight on him and he basically disappeared. Spencer Shannon is a non-starter. Like, if you're going to be the guy who, like, he is renowned for his special teams acumen. He's renowned for his recruiting, but Texas also, this scheme thrives when it has a good tight end, and tight end coach is next to Jeff Banks' name. So that to me is a big frustration. Like you saw how well the offense worked when Texas had Jatavian Sanders. You saw how well the offense worked when they had Gunnar Helm, right? Texas did not have that this year. And that was a big, big drawback. And especially because Sark really wants to run 2 tight end sets. You cannot have dead weight out there at tight end. And that's on Jeff Banks. So like, I don't want Jeff Banks gone. I usually evaluate this by how long I think somebody will be on the market. I think Jeff Banks would have a job the day after he's fired. So like keep him around.
Yeah, you made a really good point there. I'd be fine if they went and just hired a specific tight end coach instead of just having someone that does special teams and tight end. I think, especially in this offense, like you said, tight end is way too important of a position to be weak at. And I think the question will be answered in the NFL too, because when Jack Endries does go to the NFL, let's see how he looks. If he looks damn good, that's going to be a big indictment on Jeff Banks and his ability not to be able to use him right in this offense.
Yeah, 100%.
The last one, I'm going to be straight up. This guy's gone. From everything I've heard, I'd be shocked if he was the wide receivers coach next year at Texas. Chris Jackson, last year of his contract, I think there's going to be a mutually parting of ways. I think this is very similar to Shaka Smart at Texas. We're not going to fire you. We're going to help you find a job to land on your feet, but you will not be back here. And that's what I think is going to happen. There's no way they're keeping this guy when they've let him go this long with a 1-year contract extension. This guy's got to recruit. You can't recruit when you're working on the last year of your contract because that's easy for other teams to be like, well, he'll be gone next year. So I just don't see this guy being here. I also don't think the wide receivers were very good this year, and they didn't really improve much at catching the football, which is the number one job they've got. Were inconsistent the whole year. So I think he should be gone.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Chris Jackson is back next year. Again, like letting a guy hang out on a 1-year contract is not great, and he still recruited pretty well in this cycle, right? It wasn't a bad unit for him, but they've got to get the new guy in really, really quickly to make sure that they've got continuity there because they've got some big names coming up in 2027 that they need to grab. So ultimately, I would be surprised. I didn't hate the Chris Jackson hire. I liked having a guy who's more development focused in that spot, but we haven't seen the development happen, right? Ryan Wingo still has the drops. DeAndre Moore looked inconsistent, right? Austin Butler's in the portal now. Like those are things that, or Aaron Butler. Austin Butler's an actor. Aaron Butler is in the portal now. Like those types of things. Like we cannot waste the level of talent that Texas has managed to recruit at the wide receiver position with a guy who's not getting them developed. So if you can find a guy who's going to get these guys developed, again, in this day and age, I am less focused on, especially at wide receivers or like skill positions, at a guy's ability to recruit because Texas can recruit in a lot of different ways. So like get a guy in here who's going to get You know, all of these burners that Texas has from the 2024 or the 2024 class, 2025 class, they're going to get them to the next level. Like those are the guys. Like Texas needs to get somebody that can get them up to speed quickly.
No, I completely agree. I would look towards the NFL, honestly. I know that's where you got Chris Jackson, but go look for another guy in the NFL. Kenny Baker did turn out well. You're kind of 1 for 2 on those type of guys that had NFL experience, so it's going to be very interesting. Corey says McDonald receiver leaving. McDonald, if you're talking about Jelani, I think Jelani's got a good chance of staying at the safety position. I'm trying to think what we don't have any wide receivers named McDonald, so I'm confused on that one.
I'm pulling up the roster now. Let's see.
I don't. And then this question too, is it true that Ohio State coaching team have doubles the Texas one? They might. I don't think they double, but they probably do have more analysts. That was one thing that Urban Meyer and Nick Saban did, guys. They did it before anyone. They would get a shit ton of analysts and have them there and pay them very little money, but they'd have them on their staff. So they probably do have more analysts than Texas is my guess. I think Texas should expand that, by the way. Like I said, I named Brian Daboll. You got to find a way for someone like that. Got to find a way for Chip Kelly. I mean, there's so many guys every year that get fired. Have them on staff for 1 year. And yeah, Corey said, that he meant Jelani McDonald. Yeah, I think at this point, Jelani McDonald's going to stay. It seems like his camp wants to be a top 50 pick. He will not be a top 50 pick in this NFL draft. He'll probably be more in this 80 to 100 range. So, and that makes a big difference. That's probably about $500,000 to $1 million worth of difference. It's worth it. He's going to get paid probably $250,000, $300,000 to play at Texas, come back, play at Texas, make up that difference and get drafted higher next year, because he will. He's still kind of learning the position. He was an athlete coming out of high school, and he's kind of just a big guy running around out there right now. He still makes mistakes, so I think he should come back.
I'm with you. I was like, Dalen McCutcheon was the only receiver I could think of that had a Mick in their name. So Jelani McDonald, hopefully coming back.
I think he will. And McCutcheon will too, because we think DeAndre Moore is leaving. So again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. And this is kicking off now. The old cycle happened. The new cycle comes in, 2027 prospects. So let's give our top 5 that Texas needs to land or at least be in play for. Gerald, do you want to start this one out? Do you have your 5th guy that you want to start with?
There's a solid in-state running back, Landon Williams-Callis, who is Texas needs to continue to add to that running back room. He's an in-state kid. You're going to see a trend. Most of my guys, 4 of my 5 guys are all in-state kids. So those are the guys that I tend to prioritize when I'm looking at recruiting. And Williams-Callis is a guy who he's got a good mix of size and speed. I think he really fit well. I'd like to see some more tape from him as a receiver. But ultimately, I think he's a guy who Texas could prioritize and get into this class and continue to build out that running back room.
Yeah, and guys, I completely agree with that. I think 4 out of 5 of my guys are from Texas as well. This is the only guy that isn't. 5 or high 4-star, probably going to be a 5-star tight end, Brock Williams from Illinois. This guy I really like, big, long, lengthy guy that can kind of do it all. And Texas hasn't had someone like this. They really haven't. Like Gunnar Helm was the closest thing, but even he wasn't a great blocker. Jatavian Sanders, again, was mostly a receiving tight end. I think this is a guy that can come in and do it all. I do think Nick Townsend on the current roster can do it all, but I'm talking about, again, just prospects. So I think this would be a really big get. It's going to be interesting. I don't think Texas has had many guys from Illinois on the roster, so it's going to be very interesting if we can get someone from the state of Illinois.
Yeah, I tossed around a couple of tight ends on the list, and I think he landed at number 6, so he's right about the cut. But yeah, Texas needs to have something of a difference maker in that room. Like it's just been since Gunnar Helm left last year, it's kind of just this year was kind of a wash at tight end.
No, 100%. My number 4 is Talon Mao. Guys, anytime you can get a 6'3.5" cornerback, you got to go and do that, especially when he's from Texas. 6'3.5", 185, long and lengthy. Again, you think Cade Phillips is a big guy at the cornerback position. This guy's even bigger. We're talking like Richard Sherman size. A guy that was, on the Texas radar in the portal a couple times, Takario Davis. I think that's the biggest comp for me, and that guy's going to play in the NFL. That's a guy that we wanted, and a guy that probably would have helped Texas out a lot this year if he came to Texas, because he helped out Washington. So a guy like Talon Mao, I think would be phenomenal. I don't know if it's in the cards. A lot of these guys, especially the next one I have on my list, are, Texas A&M is pushing really hard. They already have a couple big name players in this class. So we'll see if he ends up on Texas, but I really love if we could get him.
Yeah, again, Sark is, and its defense is really leaned toward these bigger corners, and like I don't think any of them come bigger than that guy. Like he's massive. He looks like a basketball player out there because he kind of is a basketball player out there. His tape's really good. It's really fun. Go watch it. My number 4, and this is my only non-in-state guy, Cassie Curie, the defensive lineman from Sierra Canyon. Texas has had some success recruiting kids from Sierra Canyon and from that area. He is a really, really interesting prospect, big body, big frame. And Texas, again, needs to continue to add. They're finally at a place where I think they're not going to have to do a money ball portal situation for defensive tackle. And I don't want that to dry up. They need to add guys like Curie in this class to keep that room healthy, to keep that room from being, frankly, a money sink, because they had to sink a ton of funds, NIL funds and offseason funds into that room over the last 2 seasons. And I think that's some of the issues we're seeing with roster construction, is that Texas had to pour a bunch of money to get that defensive tackle room healthy. And so got to keep that pipeline going.
No, I completely agree with you. I didn't think they did a great job of that in this class with the offensive and defensive lines, and they're going to have to go in the portal heavy again. Again, I want to add 1 to 2 guys in room. I don't want to have to add 5 guys at defensive tackle. That shouldn't be the plan here at Texas. You should have to land, hey, we need 1 or 2. I'm completely fine with that, but I completely agree with you on that. Number 3 for me is the guy you had 5th, Landon Williams-Callis. Like, I really like this guy. Really small, but he's compact. Again, he is not tiny. He's like 5'9", 5'10", but he's 200 pounds. Really dynamic player in the open field, kind of like a bowling ball. I think that's the issue. Texas hasn't been heavy in this recruitment so far. I'm hoping Jabbar Jaloop changes that because honestly, if you look at the mold that Steve Sarkisian likes, he likes the Derek Coopers, he likes the CJ Baxters, the bigger guys. But if you look at, successful backs in the NFL, you don't really want the tall guys because you want the low center of gravity guys. And I think he fits that. I think he can catch out of the backfield. And I think he's a really, really talented football player. And unfortunately, right now, I think he's trending to the other big school in Texas, which is Texas A&M. So I'd really like to, flip that and have him come to Texas.
As somebody who drafted Maurice Jones-Drew every year he could in fantasy football, get him to Austin, please, 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 please get him to Austin. Next guy on my list is Zane Rowe, the edge from Denton Guyer. He is, again, Texas needs to add one of these kind of defensive freaks every year. Like Texas should have a freak pipeline. It was Anthony Hill, and then it was Colin Simmons, and now it's Tyler Atkinson, right? They need to add, and I think Zane Rowe isn't quite like, he's not on the level of those guys, but he's one of those guys that has those kind of freak capabilities. He looks the part. And I love, those Denton Guyer defenders. I just think they're great. So like, I think get that guy in the room, please.
Hey, we have 2 of the same guys on the list because I have Zane Rosewell at number 2. Listed as an athlete, but you said everything there. Great edge. You'll be interesting if Texas completely says he is an edge. Maybe they slide him back to linebacker. Maybe they put him at safety. I don't know. I think he can do it all. He's a really, really talented football player, really good athlete. So again, these guys are in your state, and I think this is a very deep class in the state of Texas for the 2027 cycle. Like out of the top 10 to 12 guys, Texas needs to land 5 to 6 of them. That's how I feel in the cycle. You need to be heavy in the state of Texas, and Zane Rowe is one of those guys that you have to land at the state of Texas.
100%. I'm there as well.
Who's your number 1?
So my number 1, I did this. I cheated a bit on this because I didn't want my whole list to just be every in-state offensive lineman, but you have like 5 or 6 top 150 offensive linemen, tackles, and interior offensive linemen in the state of Texas. So I need Texas to grab 2 or 3 of the top 5 or 6 offensive linemen in the class, whether it's Kennedy Brown, Isaiah Kamara, Swanson, Ford from Texarkana, Caden Scott, give me 2 or 3 of those 5 guys, and I'm feeling good, right? My whole list could have been offensive linemen because, if you've been here long enough, that's where I like to talk about. But ultimately, there are too many elite in-state offensive linemen for Texas to not land at least 2, if not 3 of them.
I did go specific here, but I completely agree with you. This is super, super deep offensive line class in the state of Texas. Ishmael Kamara is the guy I went with. I think he has the highest upside when you talk about big humans. He's a big human. I think he's only been playing football for 2 to 3 years. He was from Europe. He just played varsity football for the first time, and that's the reason he shot up. He will be a 5-star when the class is settled, be a top 15 player. It's going to be him and Kennedy Brown battling for that spot of one of probably the 3 best players in the state, if not the best player in the state. you got to land one of them. And unfortunately, right now, again, Kennedy Brown looks to be trending toward Texas A&M. You cannot allow Texas A&M to have both these guys. It cannot happen. You have to land this guy. I don't think he's going to play right away because he's raw, but he's one of those guys who, if you mold him correctly, he's going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft if he's molded correctly. He's that talented, and that's how much of a freak he is if you just look at the measurables and everything like that. So you have to land Ishmael Kamara, in my opinion.
Yeah, and again, Kamara is the guy I had on my list first, but I was like, I could add him though. And my list at first was just 5 offensive linemen, so I just lumped them all in one to keep, because nobody wants to hear me talk about 5 different offensive linemen. But yeah, Kamara is a guy who Texas needs to land. I also like Swanson out of South Oak Cliff. I think that guy is a really good tackle. I would love to see him in Burnt Orange. And Texas had good success with guys from South Oak Cliff, right? We've seen it happen multiple times. So let's get him in the barn.
No, 100%. And it's going to be interesting, guys. It's going to be a very competitive cycle in the state of Texas, because probably for this cycle, it's probably the best state to get your commitments from it. I mean, you can make that case anytime, but again, it's super, super deep for 2027. So again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Let us know if you disagree with any of the 5, if you'd add someone else. Let us know, and let us know some underrated prospects in the class as well. We really appreciate when you guys do that. So let's do this. Look ahead at next year's schedule. Texas schedule came out for next year in the SEC. We kind of knew what it was going to be, but it's always fun to look a little bit ahead here. Let's see if I messed this up or not when I add. Oh, there we go. It's nice. It added directly to the stage. Sometimes it does not do that. So let's look ahead at this. Gerald, what are your first impressions from this Texas schedule?
Yeah, there are some really tough road games on the schedule. That's the first one. We knew going to Tennessee, going to LSU, even going to Missouri is going to be tough. Having to play on the road at A&M this year, the road slate is rough. It is not friendly for Texas. Ultimately, though, I hate doing these things too early because, well, we don't know what the portal is going to be, but this is a schedule and a roster, a group that I think Texas could again end up probably 10-2 again this time next year, and potentially looking at a college football playoff. The games that really scare me, one, going to Tennessee, they're always going to be light up the scoreboard. That's going to be a massive outing. Going to LSU late in the year, I wish we got the LSU. I would be great flipping Tennessee and LSU, and I'd feel better about both those games, honestly, because I think Tennessee always fades down the stretch, and I don't want Lane Kiffin to have time to get his feet underneath him in Death Valley. So going to Death Valley late in the year scares me. Back-to-back road games at Missouri. Missouri they're not, they're a really good football team, and they generally jump up and beat somebody that they shouldn't each and every year. And so maybe that's going to be Texas next year. That stretch of Oklahoma, Florida, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, then going to Missouri, that is a rough go of it.
The thing that bothers me the most, 8 straight games to end the year. No 2 bye weeks this year. You get, 4 and then off. And the bye week is nice, right before Oklahoma and between Tennessee. But 8 straight, and they're all conference games, guys. That's going to be hard. Texas is not going to go 8-0. I'm going to let you guys know that through that stretch of 8 games, they are going to lose at least one of those football games. That does not mean you're a bad football team. Another thing, an SEC team will get in the playoff next year at 9-3. I'm very confident in saying that because you added another conference game. You're going to add half the conference is going to have another loss. And that's with the 12-team playoff. If it goes to 16, you'll definitely see at least one 9-3 team in the SEC. I think with 12, you'll see one. And like you said, at LSU, at Missouri, at Tennessee, we get Ohio State at home. But those 3 games, guys, when you're playing at Tennessee, at LSU, those are 2 of the 5 to 6 hardest environments in the country. Then you add Texas A&M as well. You're playing at 4 of the top 25 hardest places to play in the country. You're playing at 3 of the top 7 hardest places to play in the country. You're probably going to go 3-1, maybe even 2-2 in that stretch, which would really suck. That may knock you out of the playoffs at that point. But this is a really hard schedule. The good thing is, if you look at it, guys, Texas A&M does have a returning quarterback. Arkansas probably went with Taylor Green. LSU will probably have a new quarterback. Missouri will probably have a new quarterback. Mississippi State will have a new quarterback, even though Kamario Taylor is on the roster. Ole Miss will have a new quarterback. Florida will have a new quarterback. Tennessee, I think, will have a new quarterback. We're going up against a lot of new quarterbacks, and that means a lot in college football. So that gives us a chance because you're going to have Arch Manning back. That week 2 game versus Ohio State, to me, you win that game, you will be going to the college football playoff. Just like this year, I always thought the team that wins that game is basically all but guaranteed a college football playoff spot. I feel the same exact way with this schedule. So that week 2 game is huge. It will not be as messy and dirty as it was this year either, because you're going to have that first week game to get the jitters out. I kind of expect that to be a classic type game in week 2 with a lot of points scored in that game, because both these teams are going to be losing a lot off the defensive side of the ball. So I'm really excited for that football game.
And Ohio State's going to lose some of their wide receiver talent, and Brian Hartline's gone. So, it'll be interesting to see what their offense looks like in that game. It's going to be fun. That will be a fun one. But it's people have to get over the undefeated thing, right? It's just not going to happen. If Texas goes 3-1 through those first 4 games, I feel pretty good. I really do. 4-0, obviously you want that to happen through those first 4, but losing to Ohio State or losing to Tennessee, I would prefer obviously to lose to Ohio State if you got to pick one to lose of those 2. But going 3-1 in that first stretch, going into that 8-game run, again, 7-1 in that stretch gets you into the playoff very easily, right? Even 6-2 in that 8-game stretch gets you into the playoff very easily. So that to me is a big, got to go 3-1 to open the season.
Yeah, I agree with that. I preferably go 4-0, and then you can go 6-2 or 5-3 down the last 8, because it's going to be, it's going to be hard just because the body blows of what's going to happen and kicking it off. That's a funny thing too. You kick that off with Oklahoma, and then you end it with Texas A&M. So you're sandwiched in between your rivals with a bunch of gauntlets of Florida, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri. I don't expect any of these teams to be very bad other than probably Arkansas. I think Arkansas is going to be bad again, but I think Florida, just because they got John Summerall, is going to be a 6-6 type team. I think Mississippi State's again going to be a 6-6, 7-5 type team. I think Missouri is going to be a 7-5, 8-4 type team. So you're going to be playing a bunch of bowl eligible football teams, and a lot of them on the road. That's a gauntlet of a schedule. And honestly, right now, if I just had to guess, and I'll get your really, really early predictions is what I'm going to title this video, so we might as well give them. I think we're going to go 10-2 on the schedule. I see 2 losses on the schedule. I don't know where they're going to come, but I'm feeling 10-2.
Yeah, 9-3 feels right to me, just because, again, it's looking at that, Missouri, LSU, Arkansas, A&M run is just so tough. It is real, real tough for me. Do I want to lose any of those games? Obviously not. But I would not be shocked if in that 4-game run, Texas was 2-2, right? Because of just the quality of teams. Again, getting LSU, that is going to be, unless both teams are trash, that is going to be the night game, the game of the week. Texas going to LSU, that is going to be a tough environment. Same thing goes for the A&M game. I think that will be a night game as well. So going to Kyle Field at night is a nightmare. So I think 9-3 feels right at this point to me. Again, I want to see what they do in the offseason, and I could, flex that up, especially if they do great at the offensive line. I think Texas probably is a much better football team. And I think Texas was probably one offensive lineman for being 10-2 this year. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I expect Arch to make a pretty big jump next year, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to put money on him to win the Heisman. I really believe that next year. I think he can do that. I think he's going to take that big of a jump. I believe in what I saw. I like the a little bit of the cockiness, the charisma, all that stuff that he plays with, and just, again, got to work on the footwork. That's the one thing for me. If that gets fixed, I think you're looking at 40 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions, 10 interceptions type season from him. I think he can be that good. So I'll ask you this question too, Gerald. So I asked this when we went through the schedule last year. If you could say, I could sign you up right now, 10-2, I'm not going to say win the national championship, but make the national championship, but your 2 losses are Texas A&M and Oklahoma, would you sign up for that?
I hate that question. Because both of them OU and A&M, but Texas makes the national championship game. Man, I I have to take it. I think like I have to take the national championship game. If you said win, absolutely, but make the national championship game, you got a 50-50 shot. So yeah, if Texas goes 10-2 and loses those 2 games, makes it the national championship, it's bittersweet, but yeah, I think it's a successful season.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the opposite of this year. We didn't make the playoffs and we went 9-3, but we beat them both. Like, I mean, that honestly is what kind of saved the season, honestly, because we beat both our rivals, kind of hold it over their heads. But that's like the only saving grace of this whole season.
Yeah, it's been a rough December in that way.
Again, guys, let us know your predictions for the early schedule. Obviously, super, super, super early. I mean, we're going to add like 20 different players before this comes, and 15, 20 guys are going to leave. So it's going to be very interesting. Let us know your predictions on that as well. Let's jump into the comments real quick. Corey says, I like the schedule better than A&M's last few games. Yeah, I agree. I mean, A&M's schedule is very easy. Can't get over Tennessee fans and the hate for Texas. Yeah, that's going to be, we'll finally get the battle of UT for football. So that'll be fun, Gerald.
Yeah. I mean, Texas has got them in multiple sports. If you get this one, they've got to go by TU.
Yeah, that should be the thing. We should, I said that for basketball when we played them. Unfortunately, they did beat us in the NCAA tournament a couple years ago. I say we do that for, the football game as well. We put up a trophy that says the real UT. The winner gets that would actually be kind of fun. We play each other every year and we have that. I'd rather replace them with freaking Arkansas at this point, but I know Arkansas fans don't agree with me on that. But
Arkansas at this point is a guaranteed dub, though, so I feel okay about that.
That is true. The schedule would be insanely hard if you added Tennessee and it was Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M. You're right. Give us Arkansas, Mississippi State, and someone else, and kick Texas A&M, Oklahoma off the schedule. Obviously, I'm kidding on that, guys. I don't really mean that, but it'd be funny. Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. We really appreciate you guys being here. We're here every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, rain, shine, snow, whatever it is, we are here. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Also, give Gerald a follow right there on his X or Blue Sky account, as well as his Longhorn Pod a follow on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, wherever you can find your podcast. We really appreciate that. You can give me a follow right there on X as well. I really appreciate you guys doing that. And again, guys, this has been the 82nd edition. Hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, hook 'em.
Hook 'em.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.